AMD's PE ratio is over 500. Nvidia's PE ratio is over 200. And right now, there are two big questions coming with these two companies. First, are they completely overvalued? And second, when will I purchase these stocks? Let's take a closer look in today's episode. So we can see year to date, both these companies have done amazing. AMD right now is up roughly 94%, and Nvidia, as I am recording, is up over 200%. Year to date, this company has tripled, and that's insane. And obviously, these are the reasons we're going to get questions of, hey, why is this company so overvalued right now? Is it overvalued? And should I kind of jump into this right now? AMD and Nvidia are both two of my biggest positions in my portfolio. So I just want to share my thoughts. And obviously, at the end of this episode, I am going to talk about when I personally would want to add to my current position. But first, let's take a closer look of what's happening within the market. All right, so the big thing right now is this AI market, and this AI market is driving a lot of opportunity, especially for the data center infrastructure. We can see AMD in their most recent event believes that this market opportunity is over $150 billion by 2027. They believe in 2023 is roughly 30 billion, and like I mentioned, 2027 to jump all the way to 150 billion. They expect a roughly 50% compounded annual growth rate for the next 4 years in this industry. And I want to say, is there any industry right now that you can think of that kind of can showcase this kind of strength in kind of compounded annual growth rate? Obviously, some investors or some people might believe, hey, this AI market might just be just a phase, so maybe these growth rates are overestimating. And there might be some others who might believe that, hey, this AI market is just getting started, that those compounded annual growth rates are completely underestimating. And obviously, we will have to wait to see where this market leads to us. But we can see Nvidia about a year ago also held their Nvidia Investor Day, and they believe, thanks to things like servers per year, that the chip system is a $300 billion market, and that includes GPUs, CPUs, DPUs, NICs, and switches. And this is prior to this AI craze. I wonder what this kind of opportunity that Nvidia sees will be when they present their next Investor Day. So right now, the first thing we can see is, right, there is the opportunity for both these companies to grow if this AI market is here to stay. Now let's take a closer look at how both these companies are looking in forms of revenue of trailing 12 months, but also what analysts are expecting. We can see, if we take a closer look at revenue trailing 12 months, AMD is in blue, Nvidia is in orange, and they're sitting at very, very close levels right now. AMD's revenue is roughly 23 billion, Nvidia's revenue is roughly 25.9. So they're very close in trailing 12 months revenue, and a lot of investors might be saying, hey, how is that possible? Their revenue is almost 1-to-1, but AMD's market cap is $200 billion, and Nvidia's market cap is roughly 5 times at $1 trillion. Is Nvidia completely overvalued? Well, one of the things is investors are really focused on future growth. And we can take a closer look at analyst estimates. They do believe that Nvidia's revenue is expected to grow to $42 billion next year, by the end of this year. Sorry, at the end of this year, it's expected to grow to $42 billion. By next year, it's expected to grow to 51 billion, and 2 years from now is expected to go through 63 billion. While AMD, while it is experiencing some growth, is not experiencing the same growth rate that Nvidia is expected to see. And we've actually heard from Nvidia and AMD based on their outlooks. They're completely different, right? Quarter 2 outlook from AMD, they actually expect a 19% year-over-year decrease, while Nvidia, on the other hand, expects a huge boost of, I think it was like a 60% revenue growth sequentially, and it will be up a nice amount year over year as well. So we can see on the quarterly basis, Nvidia is definitely showcasing that it is the huge winner in this AI market, while AMD might not be showcasing that strength. Also, if we take a closer look at the full year outlook, we don't really get much guidance from AMD in the full year outlook. Normally they give us a number, but this time they just said, hey, the data center and the embedded markets are expected to grow year over year. They don't share much case of the kind of other solutions like gaming and the client space. Well, if we do take a closer look at Nvidia in their most recent investor earnings day, there was an analyst that wants to clarify, does the visibility mean that data center sales can continue to grow sequentially in quarter three and quarter four, or do they sustain at quarter two levels? So it's pretty much asking, hey, how is quarter three happening? Nvidia responded and said that yes, we do plan a substantial increase in the second half compared to the first half. So while they didn't give any numbers, they are hinting that, hey, we're expected to continue to grow in the second half of this year compared to the first half. And this is what has investors very excited. Where Nvidia can actually give a clear picture, AMD cannot give us that clear pictures to investors. But does that kind of correlate to the market valuation? Again, we saw a 5x valuation difference in market cap. And I do believe that right now the market might be underestimating AMD in the form of revenue growth. I think, unfortunately for AMD, the consumer market is a little bit more cloudy for them, but they have announced numerous new solutions in form of the data center market, in forms of CPUs. They also have the MI300, and I do believe, even though the MI300 is expected to come out in the last quarter of 2023, these can all kind of help the company see some decent growth and maybe beat analyst expectations. I mean, we can see in forms of revenue growth, this current year, Nvidia is expected to grow 66% from its trailing 12 months. Next year is expected to grow 21%, followed by a 23% the following year. While AMD expects not much growth here, 18% next fiscal year, and roughly 14% 2 fiscal years from now. Now, again, we can see right now, analysts are very excited about Nvidia, and unfortunately, they don't seem to be that excited about AMD. And I do believe this is where a great opportunity lies, because I do believe Nvidia will continue to be the number one by a long shot in the data center AI market. I also believe that there is plenty of room for a number two position. Even if the number two position is so far off from number one, it will still win a lot. And it does seem like investors and analysts are very much underestimating AMD. In a bit, we'll take a closer look at things like PE ratio, where we can take a closer look at more of that valuation case. But before, if you are enjoying the episode, make sure to hit the thumbs up, as it does help me grow my overall audience. I'm trying to hit 30,000 subs by the end of the year, so I thank you guys so much. If you want to know more about semiconductors, make sure to join my membership. And finally, I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode. Now, let's take a closer look at earnings per share, and this is where things start to get interesting. Again, very similar to revenue, AMD is expected to see some modest growth in earnings per share, but the one that's really going to take the cake here is going to be Nvidia. We can see earnings per share estimates for the next 2 fiscal years is expected to be $12.35 for Nvidia and $5.29 for AMD. Now, if we take a closer look at this, and maybe take a look at a PE ratio, and this is assuming AMD at $124 and Nvidia at $428, the trailing 12 months PE look horrible. Like I mentioned, PE for AMD 517. PE for Nvidia, 222. They look horrible, completely overvalued. But now let's take a closer look at PE estimates for the current fiscal year. So 3 quarters from now, AMD's PE ratio is expected to drop to 43. Nvidia's to 55. Now, these are looking a lot more attractive in my opinion. Now, for the next fiscal year, so roughly 7 quarters from now, AMD's PE ratio is expected to be 29, Nvidia's 44. Now things are looking a lot more interesting, right? 2 fiscal years from now, I personally believe this is too far off into the future. AMD's PE is expected to be 23, Nvidia's is expected to be 35. Again, I do believe these are too far off. So now my final thoughts. When would I buy? Both AMD and Nvidia are big positions in my portfolio. So for me, I'm not necessarily hungry to purchase more. But if I was to add to my portfolio, I would want next fiscal year PE ratio to be less than 25. I actually got it wrong there, the sign. But for that to happen, AMD's price point is less than $100, and Nvidia's price point is less than $243. if estimates are correct. But I don't believe estimates are correct. I believe this is the probable case. Obviously, this isn't right or wrong. This could be wrong, but I do believe it is a higher probability right now that the market is underestimating AMD. If the market is underestimating AMD, I believe even at current values, AMD is not that crazily overpriced. I also unfortunately believe that the market might be overestimating Nvidia. And if the market is overestimating Nvidia, then that price point for them for me to enter would be a lot lower than 243. And those are my probabilities in my opinion of where the market is going to go. So you might be asking, why not sell since I think they are overvalued, right? Why not sell AMD if I believe this company is overvalued, if it's higher than $100? And Nvidia, why wouldn't I sell if it's such a big position if I believe it's overvalued unless it gets to 243? I think my probable cases are more important for new money coming in. So for new money coming in, I like to look at my risk to reward ratios. Right now, I do believe my risk would be too high of putting money into Nvidia. Maybe not too high in putting into money AMD at the moment. I do believe AMD might be still giving some form of opportunity, maybe not the greatest opportunity, but I do believe market is underestimating. But because I do have a very low cost basis on both these companies, the risk of these probables cases lessens, and I would rather let my winners win. So very interesting thoughts there. Let me know what you guys think, and and did you guys kind of find any great information here? I do believe it's crazy when we look at current PE ratios, how things look like, but if we look at forward PE ratios, the story completely changes. So take care, have a good day, and see you next time.